Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Before I get into today's video, let me quickly send a shout out to my man Kenneth, who subscribed to the channel on Friday night, and he is a Gamecock fan. But some of you Georgia fans out there can take lessons from him, because he said to me, I'm not like most Gamecock fans. I don't care about the SEC. If South Carolina don't win, it doesn't mean diddly squat to me. And I said, you know what? I like you already. And then he messaged me back and he said, a lot of my Gamecock friends get mad because I don't hate Clemson, but it's because they're a brand, and that's what I want South Carolina to be. So he's a Gamecock fan, but he's smart because he's in the same boat as me. The conference you're in does not matter. You win or you lose, and that's just the way it goes. So shout out to Kenneth for subscribing to the channel. Now, today's video is going to be a quick recap of Week 3 in college football. Now, for the most part, I'm just going to talk about the games that I mentioned in yesterday's video. So if you have not watched yesterday's video, please go back and watch it. But I will start out by saying there was a great game last night. Oklahoma State beat Boise State by the score of 21-20. And the only reason I bring that game up is because the score at halftime was 21-20, and the final score was 21-20. So Oklahoma State won, but neither team scored in the second half, and Oklahoma State's one of those teams that everybody says does not play defense. They played some pretty good defense last night, and they're normally a passing team, and they only threw the ball 13 times last night. So it was a shock that they only threw the ball 13 times, but they won last night and held Boise State scoreless in the second half and walked away with a 1-point win at 21-20. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, I said in my video that Miami had to find some kind of offense besides D'Eriq King. Well, they lost yesterday, and they ran 83 plays on offense, and D'Eriq King was involved in 71 of them. He threw 59 passes, and he ran the ball 12 times. So the rest of the offense combined had 12 carries. Everything else was D'Eriq King. They've got to find somebody on offense to do something besides D'Eriq King. He can't run or throw on every single play. They're relying way too much on him. And then Oklahoma and Nebraska, if you didn't watch that game, Nebraska actually outplayed Oklahoma. There was a 9-point swing on special teams, and that was the difference in the game because Oklahoma won by 7. But Nebraska missed 2 field goals, and then they had 1 extra point blocked, and the blocked extra point was ran back for a 2-point conversion by Oklahoma. So Nebraska lost 9 points on special teams, and Oklahoma won by 7 by the score of 23-16. And I also said yesterday there was going to be a sneaky good game between Memphis and Mississippi State, and nobody was talking about it because Memphis was a group of 5 team, but Memphis actually beat Mississippi State by the score of 31-29. Now, before I go on, I'll talk about my team here for a minute, and that's Clemson. Now, if any of my Clemson friends watch this video and they have any thoughts or ideas or suggestions, please feel free to let me know. But I know I've been saying for 2 weeks that Clemson's offense is missing something, and if you didn't see the game yesterday, it was embarrassing. I'll say the same thing I said after the Georgia game. It's embarrassing to have that kind of talent on offense. They've got 5-star receivers all over the field, a 5-star quarterback, 5-star running backs, and you put up 14 points against Georgia Tech. Now, you still won the game because you gave up 2 field goals, and the safety late in the game. We'll talk more about that coming up here in a minute. So you won the game 14-8. But before I finish what I'm saying, I'll go ahead and say, if they don't get that fixed, one of 2 things will happen next week. Either they'll come out, they'll get it fixed, and then NC State next week will get blowed out of the water, or they won't get it fixed, and NC State will beat Clemson next week. Because I just don't think they're good enough to beat NC State by scoring 14 points. If they don't score at least 21, I don't think they'll win next week. But they shouldn't have a problem scoring 21 or 28. There's no reason to have that kind of talent all over the field on offense, and you cannot move the ball at all. It's embarrassing. Now, I know I've seen a lot of people say that they don't have the trust in DJ to throw the ball deep, and it does look that way, but at the same time, I don't know why they wouldn't. He's not a new starter. He's new to being the starter, but he had 2 starts last year, and in both of his starts when Trevor was out, they went deep multiple times. So it makes no sense that he was successful going deep last year, and now all of a sudden this year you don't trust him to go deep. That makes no sense. But at the same time, I don't know what the reason is, because they look atrocious on offense. They're the only team, I believe, unless there's some, lower tier team, I'm pretty sure they're the only team in America that has not given up a touchdown in 3 games. And that's good. But at the same time, it does not matter how good your defense is. You have got to score. You cannot live and breathe by your defense that much. It's good to have a defense that good, but you're not going to win against the good teams by scoring 14, 15 points. You're going to have to score. I don't know what the reason is. Against the Georgia game, I knew it was the offensive line. There was just too many times that DJ got pressure right away. But in that game yesterday, there was multiple times he had all day to throw and would throw the ball 3 yards from the line of scrimmage. There was one time that Bob was choosing, who was calling the game, even said, I believe the pass was to Ngata, and Bob said that was his 4th check down, and it was. But every one of the receivers was 5 yards from line of scrimmage. Nobody even went deep. So if you play Clemson right now, it's easy to play defense. Bring your cornerbacks and your safeties into the box. Put all 11 men in the box, because it ain't going deep. It's going to go 5 yards from line of scrimmage and in. And that's it. And I don't know what the reason is, but if they don't figure it out, they will lose to NC State next week. Now, about the safety, that was stupid. It was terrible. If you didn't see that, they stopped at Georgia Tech on about the 2.5-yard line with 9 seconds to go in the game. So they got the ball on about the 2.5-yard line, up 14-6, and all they had to do was down the ball. But instead of downing the ball or running a quarterback sneak, they line up in the shotgun, and they give the ball to Will Shipley, and he fumbles in the end zone. Now, luckily, he recovered it. Had he not recovered it, it would have just been an absolute unmitigated disaster. But he recovered it, so it was a safety, which is why Clemson won the game 14-8. I don't know why you're in the shotgun with 7 seconds to go in the game, and all you've got to do is down the ball or run a quarterback sneak. But at the same time, I see teams all the time now on 4th and inches in the shotgun. As a matter of fact, last Saturday when Tennessee and Pittsburgh played, Tennessee had, I think, a 4th and 1 from the Pittsburgh 2-yard line, and they were in the shotgun. When it's 4th and 1 and you're in the shotgun, it's not 4th and 1, it's 4th and 6. So if there's this many teams now that have lost so much confidence in their quarterback that they can't even take a snap under center once a game, we've got a problem. But Clemson got very, very lucky yesterday. They better get it fixed, and better get it fixed in a hurry, or they will lose to NC State next week. Now, I'm not going to talk about the playoffs, because that's one of the things, in my opinion, that destroys college football, is the season starts, and you get 3 weeks in, and people are already saying, well, who's your top 4? Can we just sit back and enjoy the regular season? It's already short enough. Let's don't start talking about January when it's still September. But Alabama struggled. They won 31-29. Now, a lot of people will say special teams cost Florida that game. And it does look that way because Florida missed an extra point in the second quarter. So they had to go for two in the fourth quarter when it was 31-29. And had they made the 2-point conversion, the game would have gone to overtime. But of course, had they not missed the extra point in the second quarter, they could have kicked it there and went to overtime. So you can't say it cost them the game because Bama may have won in overtime, but you can say it at least cost them a shot to win the game. We'll never know whether or not they would have won. But Bama did hang on for the 31-29 win. I did not think that game was that close, but I will say your humble YouTube host has been saying since about the middle of July that I didn't think Bama was going to be that good this year. I just don't think their defense is as good as it normally is. They have no running back depth at all. If you watched Florida's defense was atrocious last year. Now, I'm sure it's improved, but it ain't improved that much, and Bama could not run the ball at all yesterday. So that's not the end of Bama's struggles. They will lose somewhere down the line, but I did not think that Florida would play them that close. So either Florida is better than I expect, or Bama is as bad as I expect. And I don't mean bad as in 7-5. For Bama, a bad season is 10-2. That's a bad season for Alabama. Penn State won last night in the whiteout game by the score of 28-20. Another great football game. Auburn had a chance with about 6 minutes to go in the game. I personally thought they were going to kick the short field goal and then try to stop Penn State, but they decided to go for it. They didn't get it. Penn State hung on to win by the score of 28-20. And the Hokies lost. And the only reason I bring this game up is because if you follow along with the rankings, they're really the only ranked team that lost. But it wasn't really an upset because even though they are ranked, which they won't be come tomorrow, but they are ranked right now, West Virginia was still a favorite going into that game. So even though the Hokies are ranked, it still wasn't an upset because West Virginia was picked to win that game. But of course we know the only reason they're ranked is because they beat North Carolina in week number 1. And speaking of North Carolina, they won last night by the score of 59-39. I know I said yesterday that if Virginia beat them, it pretty much knocked North Carolina out of the Coastal Division race. But since they won, they're right back in the Coastal Division race. And then last but not least, we'll talk about Georgia for a minute. Not much to talk about there. Somebody asked me, I think Friday night, if I had a prediction for the Georgia game, and I said 41-17, which would have been Georgia winning by 24, and they won by 27. So it's about right where I thought it would be. I knew South Carolina was pitiful. I know a lot of people panic about that game because for whatever reason, there are a lot of years where South Carolina is decent and they play Georgia good. And then, of course, in 2019, South Carolina was, I think, a 4-win team, and they beat Georgia. But this Gamecock team couldn't even beat the 2019 team. This Gamecock team is just, it's hideous. So I didn't think it would be close, and it wasn't. And then also Kentucky, who looked pretty impressive in the first couple of weeks, they struggled yesterday to beat UT Chattanooga, winning the game by the score of 28-23. I was pretty impressed with Kentucky after the way they played against Missouri last week. But they didn't play very good yesterday. Luckily for them, it was UT Chattanooga, so it did not matter. Of course, later on this week, we'll talk about some of the big games coming up in week number 4 of college football. If you have any thoughts on anything that happened or any other games or any other teams, or like I said, if you're a Clemson fan and you watch this video and you have any thoughts about their offense and can explain to me what's wrong with the offense, please feel free to let me know. I don't know why you have all those 5-star wide receivers and none of them go more than 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. I don't get it. I don't understand it. If somebody has any ideas, please let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. In Australia, they call it a lift. In America, it's called an elevator. I guess they're just raised differently. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.